Good morning.
Morning.
And welcome to our training center here in Gothenburg. Today we will talk about trailer brakes and parking brakes. We have here a truck we borrowed, FM, and in that truck the trailer brakes seem to work differently than with our own training truck. So we will today find out exactly what happens when you apply parking brake on these trucks and what happens to trailer brakes. And you have promised to help me a little bit with being the driver.
Absolutely.
Cool.
That's the best part. So
should we start with this truck that we borrowed? So if I just a little bit show what we have done here. We have here the trailer connectors, and if I jump in here, this one here is the cable marked with red tabs. That is constantly pushing a supply pressure. So if we would have a trailer connected here, from this cable, the red one, when you connect it into the trailer, you would hear psh, because it's supplying constant pressure. And that basically feeds the air tanks of a trailer if you don't have any air in the trailer. Then this one is what is called service line, and it shows now 0 pressure here. And when you press your brake pedal normally, then we will show you in a bit what happens. But then we start supplying trailer with the pressure, and that activates the brakes using the supply pressure from this line. That's how they work. Now this truck has been parked. We can see that we would be supplying trailer with air, but we would not use the service brakes of the trailer. So let's put all the cameras rolling and Dieter into the driver's seat. So we have Dieter here, our lucky driver. We have another camera there, and if you can just put your foot in a way, that we can see what you're doing with your brake pedal.
Yep.
And then we will go here and see what starts happening. And now, if you could press the brake pedal, let's see what happens. And then you can release. So now if we would be driving and Dieter would press brakes, the service line, the yellow line, would open up, and then that would activate the brakes. So then what you could do, Dieter, next is you could put the parking brake on. So we can see that, you can see some activation of brakes where we activate and deactivate the parking brake, but were you touching brake pedal at any point?
I had to touch the brake pedal to deactivate the parking brake.
So that was it. When you touched, then we saw the gauge changing position. But when this truck has parking brakes on, the trailer brakes are not on. And let's go and check the other truck and see what happens in there and what you should know about these differences as a driver. So I will just remove them from this truck. So I have the cages here. We will put them in place here, and let's see what happens. All right, we have connected these in place. The truck has literally no air in it. So if this now would be, if you would have a trailer connected and you didn't put on parking brakes from pulling that red tab in the end of the trailer, could be that you have a trailer in tow that has no brakes. We have this truck. It's our own training truck. It was originally equipped with this sticker in the windscreen from the factory. So that tells you as something as a driver. If you can, Dieter, now crank up, and the truck has no air. And let's see what happens when you crank it up and how the pressure starts to be built up. And maybe go and see how it looks from the driver's side. We see the pressure building, so it's slowly building up the pressure because we evacuated all the air in the whole air system. And you should feel that the seat is low at the moment. Probably you might have some gearbox related issues because there is no air in the clutch actuator. And
same with the neck too.
yeah. Let's go and see what happens in the trailer. Yeah. So now we are at maximum pressure in all circuits of the truck and trailer. And now with this trailer, the truck is supplying the trailer with constant, steady pressure. So that fills the air tanks of the trailer. And then this was the service line that is now pushing also pressure to the trailer. And now if you release the parking brake, so what just happened there is when we released parking brakes of this truck, it also released the service brakes of the trailer. And if you now press a brake pedal, you can see that the brake pedal is supplying air. And if you release the brake pedal, cool. And if you put the parking brake on again. So now if you see a truck with this label in the windscreen, it means that when you put parking brake on in this truck, it puts service brakes on in the trailer, and the other truck didn't do that. So we have two new Volvo trucks here that behave differently, and we probably need to explain a little bit what is that. But then we also have this strange sticker here saying that when you pull the handbrake twice, we have a risk of trailer runaway. And let's see what the driver guide says of this truck. So if I read from here, parking with activated trailer brake. When the truck's parking brake is applied, the service brake is used as well. So the trailer service brakes are used. However, the trailer's brakes will be released if there's an air leak in the system. It is therefore important to check that the truck's braking force is sufficient for the whole vehicle combination when parked on a hill. Then you can test if it holds in place. So you apply the parking brake and you must not press the brake pedal, and then pull the lever to the end position one more time, and that should release the service brakes on a trailer, and then you can wait and see if the trailer will stay or the combination will stay in place where you have parked it. So let's try it out. If you now release the parking brakes of the whole combination, yeah, now we have trailer brakes opened up. The supply line is still supplying pressure, but the service line is not, so therefore the brakes of the trailer are not on. If you then pull the handbrake all the way, release it and pull it and hold, again, let's see what happens. There you go. So now that would release the parking brakes of the trailer, or yeah, and now they came back, so I suppose you let off from the handle. So that's how you can check if you're in slippery slope parking, if only the truck's brakes are able to hold the truck in place in case of air evacuation. And if you want to really play it safe, then you should come out of the cab and go and pull the red tab on the trailer end to activate the spring actuated parking brakes on the trailer. So these two trucks seem to behave a little bit differently.
Yeah.
We have our own training truck here, and originally that was equipped with this sticker and the bottom of the windscreen, and that's kind of vital information for you as a driver. Because what this sticker tells you is that when you pull the parking brake of the truck, the spring-actuated brakes on the truck go on, but on top, the service brakes of the trailer go on. However, what will not happen is that the spring-actuated parking brakes on the trailer go on.
Yeah.
And this is how traditionally the Central European truck manufacturers have done their trucks. And you don't have any issues with that whatsoever, just as long as you're on a flat and you have no air leakage in the combination. But when the air escapes from the combination through a leak, or if the combination is parked for a long time, when the air evacuates from the trailer circuits, the spring-actuated brakes on the trailer are not on, and the service brakes slowly give up.
And you risk that the truck starts rolling away.
Yeah. So the upside of this configuration that we have on this truck with this sticker is that, for instance, you go into loading paper rolls and a forklift brings those from the end of the trailer in. And then when you put the parking brake on, all the axles brake, and the risk of the whole combination moving when the forklift brakes with heavy load in the trailer is very unlikely.
Yeah.
It's still good practice to tie your trailer to the loading dock anyway. But that's the upside of this configuration. The downside of it is, and that's why we have the other truck and other setup, is that if it's really slippery and you park into an incline, pull the handbrake, if the air evacuates from the system and the trailer brakes open up, then you might lose the whole combination and the park is not where you left it last time. So therefore, the Nordic truck manufacturers have traditionally have more setup like this without the sticker in the window. So when you put the parking brakes on this truck, we were not supplying air to the service brakes of the trailer. And what happens with that setup is that if you park somewhere and put the handbrake on, if the truck will not withstand that place, you need to find another parking spot. And
you know straight away. You don't find out later on.
And if you feel with this combination that it doesn't hold in place when you park it in an uneven ground, and if it's slippery, then you can apply parking brakes from the brake lever, and that also activates the service brakes. However, the ignition needs to be on in the truck. If you shut off the electric system of the truck, then it will release the trailer brakes. And then the other option is to go to the end of the trailer again, pull that red tab out, and that puts the spring-actuated brakes on, and then you know that every single axle that has spring-actuated brakes on them will break you down, and that's a good practice when you go loading and unloading. Another good thing with this setup is that if you have a drawbar trailer in a tow, when you're loading heavy loads, it's good that the trailer can float back and forth towards the truck when you put heavy loads like a lot of timber or something, because if the trailer cannot freely float, it puts quite heavy stress on the towing device.
Yeah.
So that's what we sometimes see with these trucks, that when you are putting parking brakes on and the service brakes of the trailer kick in, when the trailer is moving during the loading or unloading, that puts a huge mechanical stress to the towing device, and that might not be good. So if you don't have risk of combination runaway, then in that kind of operations, the Nordic setup could be better. But then you need to be sure that you know where you park your truck and know when to activate the parking brakes of the trailer, which happens from the trailer end.
Yep.
Hopefully this helped you to understand how the brakes of the truck work, and in case this sticker has been removed from your truck, you can always check driver guide, go into trailer brakes, and if you see this decal in the driver guide, then you know that when you activate parking brake on a truck, the service brakes of the trailer will also be activated in your trailer.
Yep.
And if not, then you know that when you apply parking brake of your truck, the trailer has no brakes on unless you do something about it. And then the options were to activate it from the brake lever stalk or go to the end of the trailer and pull the red tab out.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Bye-bye.